Welcome back to our live show right here on CBS 6. Did you know it's National Lightning Safety Awareness Month? Our next guest is a top Richmond financial expert joining us live today to explain how retirement planning can be similar to staying safe during a lightning storm. Jeremy, you've got a lot of work to do on this connection, Bill.
Jeremy Shipp is here with us, and we welcome him back to Virginia this morning for the forecast. Hey, Jeremy.
We gotta have a little bit of fun with money. It can get a little, doldrum. So yeah, how does retirement planning correspond to being prepared for a lightning storm? You'll be surprised with what the similarities are.
Okay, so let's start right there then. And, there's a reason that I always tell people don't rely on stereotypes. But there's a reason there is that stereotype, because things do happen in certain situations. So lightning does strike people. I mean, hopefully it's not anybody we know or love or care about or anybody in general, but it does happen, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's only about 1 in 500,000 is your chances of being struck by lightning. And people like to use statistics as a way to relate to the world. So everyone likes statistics until you become one.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to retirement planning, 1/4 of Americans, their number one concern is running out of money in retirement. So how do we not become that statistic? And starting at the very beginning, it's just, let's do something. As we talked about, 1/4 of Americans are not saving for retirement. So let's actually do that. Put some money into a retirement plan, put some money somewhere, put a cohesive plan together so that we can really not put ourselves in harm's way needlessly.
So, Jeremy, that's step one to strike it rich in retirement, maybe, or at least strike an account and get it going, is that you don't want to become a statistic, and it's not too late to start.
Absolutely. It's never too late, and we can get started, get a little bit of momentum. And then let's make sure we don't needlessly put ourselves in harm's way. So bringing it back to lightning safety, I mean, how did electricity be invented? Well, somebody was flying a kite out in a field during a thunderstorm. So, I mean, when I talk about that for retirement, I'm talking about diversification. So putting all your money into one stock, that would be like running out in a field with a lightning rod during a thunderstorm. So let's not do that. And I mean, maybe you remember a little company called Blockbuster Video. If we sunk all our money into that way back when, similar to what people are talking about right now with Bitcoin, sure, you could get rich, but you could also go broke. And that's not how we become successful in retirement. So let's be diversified and have a balanced approach when we are planning for that next phase of life.
All right, so I'm not going to run out on the golf course with my 5-iron and wave it in the air during an electric storm. So we know that. So we've not allowed ourselves to become a statistic. We are not putting ourselves in harm's way intentionally or otherwise. What else do we need to think about lightning and money?
We want to keep the idea of truth in mind and not rely on wives' tales and myths. So keeping our theme here, when it comes to lightning, I know I've heard a number of times that lightning never strikes the same place twice. Well, I got news for folks. It hits the Empire State Building about 100 times every single year. Okay. So how does that bring over into retirement planning? The 3 main myths that I try and educate people about have to do with spending patterns, housing costs, and taxes. So spending costs. People feel like they are going to spend less in retirement than they did while they were working. And that just is not true based on the latest studies. People are actually spending as much or more in retirement to have a successful retirement and live the way they want. Number 2 has to do with the big M word in retirement, and that's mortgage. So there's still a pervading idea out there that we want to pay off our mortgage by the time we retire. And I'm sorry, but that thinking goes back to the 1930s. Okay, that's where that came from. So if you're using that idea and that methodology for planning for retirement, you're using Depression era economics in the digital age. So we have completely different mortgage regulations, super low interest rates. If you're trying to do that actively, paying off your mortgage sooner than you absolutely have to, you could be costing yourself $500,000, $1 million, $2 million in the way of money you could be using in retirement. And then taxes, people just say, I'll be in a lower tax bracket when I retire. Sometimes that's true, but for about 80% of my clients, when you factor in Social Security and possible pensions and required distributions from their retirement accounts like IRAs, sometimes they're in the same tax bracket or even higher in retirement. So it's super important to have the right information when you're doing your planning. That's why I recommend working with a certified financial professional, working with an independent financial fiduciary, so you can have a nice baseline of truth when you're doing that planning, getting forward. Because like Lightning Safety Awareness Month, it's not about being active and going at it. It's actually how do you protect yourself and mitigate those risks.
And it's interesting, Jeremy, because in listening to everything that you're sharing, now granted, if this is not the world you live in, these things sound almost unrelatable. But as soon as you work with a professional and you begin to learn, this isn't necessarily about tucking it all away and building wealth. This is about, in a way, protecting the wealth that you have accumulated to some degree too. And
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, making sure that if that lightning strikes in the form of a financial storm where markets crash or tax rates go up, how can we sidestep that and not just put ourselves in harm's way? That's what this is all about when it comes to retirement planning. What are the little steps, little things we can do just along the way to give us a better chance to reach that successful retirement that we all want?
All right, Jeremy, good job of kind of setting this all up for us and getting there. And lightning strikes a lot of times. And so you want to be prepared and ready. And like you said, seek shelter somewhere else.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Jeremy, I do have one more question for you, and this one's going to be pretty straightforward. You know, we mentioned the statistic at the beginning of the conversation that 1 in 4, so roughly 25% don't have retirement savings when it comes time. And a lot of those folks, it's not for a lack of want. It might be for the ability of rubbing those nickels together to have tucked away. And it kind of goes back to that question of, well, it's not too late, but how? When somebody comes in and works with a professional and you're in that position, are there things you can do?
I think that the two main things are to focus on your spending, making sure you're being intentional with where you're directing your dollars. Okay. So we've talked in the past about balancing out paying down debt versus building an emergency fund or savings. So really look at your expenses. That's the number one indicator of success in retirement that I found after working with hundreds of people, as far as how in tune with their spending are they, as far as having a handle on that. So that's really the main focus. And the next thing would be number 2, focusing on building up some Social Security earnings credits, so that when you get to that point, if you don't have anything built up, that's going to be a huge income source for you that is going to be there to support you along the way. So spending and making sure you can maximize what you got as Social Security. For the folks who are really pinching pennies, trying to make that work, that's where they're going to get the most bang for their buck as far as effort goes.
All right. Nailed it. Got it. Thank you, sir.
The perfect storm of insight. Thank you, Jeremy. We appreciate it. Great talking with you as always.
Great to see you.
For more information on Jeremy Shipp's financial services, we will have a direct link on our website later today, WTBR.com/VTM.
And please stay tuned. One of our favorite parts of the show is coming up. We'll find out what's inside the inbox and share it with you during our Everywhere You Are segment, coming up in less than 3 minutes.